Hi, this is Emily with Team Made for More, and today I'm going to show you how to make something called Salsa Mexicana. And it's a recipe that I have altered a little bit, but the original recipe is in one of my favorite taco books called Tacos. And so I've adapted it a little bit to fit in my meal plan, but the recipe name is called Salsa Mexicana. And to get started with it, you need, I make like a pretty big batch of salsa so that we can use it for the whole week for our meal prep. And so I'm using 12 tomatoes, 2 serrano chilies. I usually use, you can always add more chilies if you want it spicier, but you can't take it away. So we're putting in 2 today. Fresh cilantro, 2 onions, 3 limes, 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, depending on how garlicky you like it, and some kosher salt, and that's it. So to get started, the first thing you're going to do obviously is wash all of your fresh produce. Then you're going to come and quarter your tomatoes. And so you literally just cut them into a quarter, scoop out the innards, and then dice them up. So I'm going to finish scooping, and it takes out that top core too. I should have a bowl here for this waste. My culinary kids are going to call me on that. Slippery little sucker. Okay, once you get those quartered, then you're going to turn them over and dice them. Just some knife basics here, because that's what I do for a living, is teach this. So when you pick up your knife, you want to use something called a kung fu grip, which means you actually, this part of the knife right here is called a bolster. And so you want to actually pinch the blade like this and then wrap your hand around the handle. And the purpose for that is it allows you to use the rocker motion of the blade. It also helps you have better control and more power to your cuts. And then you always want to keep your other hand in the claw, and that kind of helps you to feed the food through your blade. And then this little guy here, we call him the piggy, and you always keep the piggy in the gate. Never let the piggy come out of the gate, because the piggy sometimes gets cut if you do that. So it looks like this when you get it in motion, and then you flip it this way and you give it a dice, and that's it. And then you scoop it up and put it in your bowl. So I'm going to finish getting these 12 tomatoes ready for our salsa mexicana. The thing you want to look for when you finish is consistency in your knife cuts. That's what I look for in the classroom. You can see in the bowl, most of the pieces are the same size. So when you do your onions and that kind of thing, you want to make them about the same size as your tomatoes so that you have consistency in the cuts. So to do an onion correctly, you always take off the top, and then I like to call this the bunny tail. You take your knife and go straight down through the bunny tail, and that helps you to get a good handle on that peel. And you probably can't tell by the video, but all onions have this rubbery layer right here. You want to make sure that you get below that rubbery layer when you are peeling back. It's usually like 1 layer under the paper layer. And if you wear contacts, you won't cry. If you don't wear contacts, you'll probably cry. So to dice the onion, you're going to take your bunny tail on one side, and you're going to take your knife perpendicular to it, and you're going to make the same size of cuts that you want all the way across the onion, but don't go all the way through, because that root part is what holds it together. And if you noticed, I kind of angled my blade with the onion. Then I'm going to take my knife and go in this way a couple of times. And then you just take it straight down the top, and now you have a perfectly diced onion with one swoop. Let me scoop that up in the bowl and I'll show you again. Okay, so here we've got our half of an onion. We've taken the top off, we've sliced it in half, we've peeled it. Now I'm going to take my knife and make my cuts across And I'm going most of the way through, but not all the way. And I'm angling my blade as I go. And then I'm going to come in to the side and make my cuts that way. And then I'm going to hold it all together and go straight down. And there is my diced onion. The difference between a diced onion and a chopped onion is a chopped onion you would then go across like in an arc pattern, and they would be irregular pieces. A diced onion are little squares similar to your tomatoes. The next thing we're going to do is the serrano chilies. You have to be careful with these because any juice that you touch, like for example, if you touch this and then touch your eyeball, it's going to hurt. So be careful when you're dealing with any kind of hot peppers or chilies. First thing I do is I take the top off to kind of see where they're growing at, because I do not put the seeds in because the seeds is what's hot. So I just kind of fillet off the outside of the pepper and I leave the seeds on their own. And I try to not touch them a whole bunch because my fingers burn the rest of the night. There we go. So here's my, this stuff is hot. So here's my pepper. By taking the very top off, you can kind of see how you can see the 4/4 there? And it kind of gives you a good starting place to know where to cut so that you don't cut right through those seeds. Some people, when they cut into it, they cut it in half first. But I try to just fillet it off. Hot mama. Okay, now I'm going to very, very finely dice these up. I want them in as small little pieces as I can. So I'm gonna get in here real close to my blade. And then I'm gonna turn them this way and just go down in a little dice. This cut is technically called a brunoise, if anybody asks. Just a tiny, tiny, tiny little dice. I scoop them up and put them in. There we go. That'll add some heat. Like I said, if you want your salsa to be spicier, put in more peppers. If you don't want it to be as spicy, put in less. I usually find 2 to 3 is the right number for us. The next thing we're gonna add is 4 to 5 garlic cloves. And so to do that, the first thing you're gonna do is put your garlic clove on your cutting board and just bop the top of it like that. Kind of busts it open and it allows you to peel it easier. And then once you have it peeled, garlic gets sticky too once you peel it, just FYI. This one's not cooperating at all. Welcome to cooking, right? Okay, once you get it peeled, then I just stick it in my garlic press and squirt it right in. This job's actually pretty fun to do. There, that one cooperated. thing we're gonna put in is just some lime juice. So I just buy some fresh limes, and then I always squeeze them over one of these just so I don't get any seeds or anything in there. And I just give them a good old squeeze. It smells so good. Next ingredient is a tablespoon plus a teaspoon of kosher salt. This is quite a bit of tomatoes, so it looks like a lot of salt, but it's really not. Our last ingredient is some fresh cilantro. And I will tell you, even if you're not a big fan of cilantro, it does a lot for the flavor. And so we're gonna use about 2/3 of a bunch. And to do this, I'm gonna first of all cut off, look for any stems that aren't the best, or any leaves that are turning brown. Make sure you get the good stuff in there. And then I usually take off these big stems down here and just cut those off. And then I take what's left and I kind of twist it and then fold it and then run my knife through it a couple times. The more you cut a fresh herb like this, the more flavor you will release. So if you don't like the cilantro flavor a lot, leave them in bigger pieces. If you do want to release more of the oil and the flavor, chop them up really fine. So I would call this probably a medium chop. And then scoop it up and add it in. The last thing to do is stir it up. I always make this the night before I'm going to use it. For us, we will use this all week. We're making some chicken enchiladas, and so this pairs nicely with that, or if tacos of any kind, taco salad, anything like that. A fresh salsa is going to taste amazing with it. And so if you let it soak overnight, those flavors really combine nicely together. I love this stuff. The best part about this is it counts as a green. So you can have like a half a cup of it and it counts as a half of a green. You can have a whole cup of it and it counts as a green. You just gotta be careful what you eat it on. So, Salsa Mexicana.